Retro psych rock with more than a hint of prog. Retro analog sounding production because it's recorded using analog equipment. Retro band influence. Are you running out of retro things to say? Rosalie Cunningham is going it alone with her solo debut album. Rosalie Cunningham. I thought that went quite well. Your intros suck like usual. My mum thinks they're cool. Then before I get into the review, the usual thing, if you haven't subscribed, do the subscribing, do the like, do the share. If you haven't done the bell thing, do the bell thing. But mainly I just wanted to give a shout out to Cheer Yourself Deaf. I think he actually sent me a message at the beginning of the year about Rosalie Cunningham, and he sent me one a couple of weeks back as well, just reminding me about it. He's got a blog page of his own, so make sure you go over and check it out. I'll put a link in the description for you. So, like I said in the intro, this is Rosalie Cunningham's debut solo album, and a self-titled one at that. After departing from her former band, Person, way back in December of 2016. Rosalie had stated in an interview that the project had gone as far as it could go. Now, the album is being put out by Esoteric and Cherry Red Records, and it was originally funded by a pledge campaign. Anyone who's been watching I was going to say the news, is it on the news? It's the net, innit? The net. Is that where everything is now? The webs. God, I'm old. As anyone who's been paying attention will know, Pledge Music has pretty much gone bankrupt. In fact, I checked their webpage while I was preparing for this review, and it has completely been taken down now. There's just a message on there saying, yeah, we don't exist anymore. So what's going to happen to artists getting their money and also fans getting the products from them is pretty not looking too good. So if you do check out this album and you do like it, make sure you get it from somewhere, make sure you buy it, support the artist as always. And yes, Pledge Music, what a bunch of wankers. Now before I actually get into some of the songs, I just wanted to go through a few things. First of all, it's fair to say that Rosalie is hugely influenced by a lot of the prog music of the 60s and 70s, as well as the Beatles, Black Sabbath, David Bowie and other glam rockers such as Slade and whatnot. There are some others as well. Just wanted to point that out because that will probably give you a very good idea of what you can expect here on in, or perhaps not. But if there's one thing I can say with all certainty, it is that Rosalie Cunningham is as Englandhamshire as fudge. And speaking of fudge, I have zero more to spare. Let's review. First up, we have Ride on My Bike, and this sets the album up perfectly for what you can expect to hear. Fuzzed out psychedelic guitars and those sort of whirly keyboards, you know, that like you got on Hawkwind, Silver Machine, you know, they kind of go. I don't know about that last one. The opening lyrics go thusly. You think you're alive, but have you ever been for a ride on my bike? As I mentioned earlier, there's a real retro feel to the production because it was produced retroly. And the song itself harbours back to a lot of the 60s and 70s prog bands. I've got elements of King Crimson and Jethro Tull, also elements of Cream. The psychedelia is strong in this. Don't do that. Seriously, don't do that. The chorus in this song is a glorious trip. Yep, go on. Rubber and steel, da-da-da-da, making me feel just like a hybrid future creature flying through a future electric evening sky. I think I got that wrong. Just like a hybrid future creature flying through an evening electric sky. I didn't do that well. There were also a lot of elements of early Queen in this song. The solo in particular had a very Killer Queen tone to it. And at one point in the song, Rosalie informs us, and I'm like, what man? I'm just trying to groove. I related to this line a lot as I'm oft prone to attempting to do the groove myself. You don't though, do you? My mum thinks it's cool. Next up we have Fuck Love. The psychedelic vibes continue, but this one has a bit more of a theatrical feel to it. I could almost imagine this one being on a Bond theme in the 60s. Not with that title. I particularly enjoyed the drum sound in this one and the playing of said drums, and I loved Rosalie's lyrics and vocals as well. Said the Vedic priest when he saw my chart, just like the high priestess when reading my cards. Fuck love. All the way from Rishikesh back to London, they told me. Be realistic, this vampiric thirst is out of control. I was a bit put off then. There are people sort of behind me. It always makes me feel odd. Nothing odd about this, just a man in a field, it's fine. Next up we have House of the Glass Red. Now there was a lot of Beatles influence I thought throughout this album. This one in particular reminded me very much of Across the Universe. The vocals sound as though they're delivered to you via a dream. That's a lot of effort to put into an album. All the glass, red where we repeat all our past. Regrets in a dream from which we never wake. Very trippy in a very warm and inviting way. Next up we have hands down my favourite song on the album, Dethroning of the Party Queen. I love this song. Alright. Real psych rock vibe on this one, going back to the 60s, sinister and fun. Kind of like Syd Barrett era Floyd. Those of us in the know say Floyd, not Pink Floyd. It's Floyd to those of us in the know. Clearly you know nothing. I loved the lyrics and the vocal pattern on this song. I'd say off with her head, but I can't pretend I won't be scared of the one that appears there with the dawn. Getting a bit low there. The chorus on this one is absolutely glorious, and I highly recommend, if nothing else, that you check this song out. I guarantee you're going to love this one. Stop that. Please stop that. Next up we have Nobody Hears. A piano introduces this song of a man who basically ends up homeless. Under a mistletoe wreath, he lies curled up beneath the Sunday Times. A man nevertheless, a heart beats in his chest, but we've no time for his kind. There were some more Beatles vibes on this one, I thought, and the back half of the song took on a more Dark Side of the Moon era Floyd. Floyd to those of us in... We get it! Really beautiful tune, gets better with every single listen, very thought-provoking. Great song. Next up we have Riddles and Games, a definite nod to the more hard rock bands of the 60s and 70s such as Hendrix, Purple, The Zepp, with some McCartney-like bass lines thrown in. Those of us in the know only use the last names of aforementioned bands. Packed full of fuzzed out guitars and psychedelic keyboards, a lot to enjoy on this one. Next up we have Butterflies, and this is much more of a stripped down folk affair, albeit one with oodles of psychedelic reverb drenched vocals. Where he goes, the butterfly goes. Following yellow lights left in the snow. Where he goes, I will go. What are you following him for? Not me. I've read a few reviews that compare this one very much to Blackbird. By the Beatles, of course, or the Tulls for those of us in the know. And I can see where they're coming from, but I personally found that there was a lot of Nick Drake and even Elton John in this song. A beautiful song. And finally, closing out the album, we have the almost 14-minute, epic long... Fuck's sake, forgot the... A yarn from the wheel. Rule number 1, don't be so engrossed in yourself that you forget the art. Yeah, nearly 14 minutes in length, and this is a truly epic way to end the album. Actually, Rosalie said of this, there are many levels to that story, and what actually made the cut onto the record isn't the half of it. So, it would have been quite intriguing to see what was originally going on with this. I think it's fair to say that a song of this magnitude could probably warrant a video on its own dissecting it, but it's safe to say that in that real 60s and 70s prog fashion, over the course of this 14-minute length you get all manners of styles and We get elements of Sabbath, Purpell, Jethro, flamenco guitars, that's not a band, the Tulls, E, or Bowie to those not in the know, Floyd, Ian, Queen, and to add to that huge epic prog type feel, I even got elements of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. What a truly epic way to end the album. And as we end the album, I suppose we too must end the review. Not quite yet. In terms of a score, I'd have to give this a 9 out of 10. This is absolutely incredible. I loved every second of it. It was absolutely amazing. Thanks once again to Cheer Yourself Deaf for pointing me in the direction of this incredible artist. I've also been checking out some of the old stuff as well that she did with Person, and there's some amazing stuff there as well. But this album is absolutely incredible. Amazing instrumentation and arrangements throughout, and Rosalie's vocals are a true joy to listen to. There's always a big conflict between whether to do an album digitally or analog, and I think that this is a good example of basically you just do it to suit the songs. In this case, the analog production fits the style of the songs absolutely perfectly. Fantastic album, highly recommended. So that's the review done. What else have I got coming up? I keep meaning to get another Q&A video out. I've got one recorded, I just need to get it edited and put out. I was going to be looking at the new Lacuna Coil song, and there were a couple of other singles. I don't know if I'm going to get any chance now. So Kim Lehman, if you're watching, I do apologise. I'm not going to get a chance to do them now, I don't think. But next week we do have the release of the new Volbeat album. So I'll be checking that one out for sure. I think that would be a good one to do for next week. And other than that, I'm going to keep it cool, you know what I mean? Keep it trendy, you know, keep it sexy, I guess. Yeah, the week after that, we've got Slipknot, the new Slipknot album. Cannot wait for that. What else is there? There's another band that I was looking into, I can't remember. But also we've got the return of Road Mutant. Any of you who have watched my unsigned band reviews, you've only done 2, may remember at the beginning of the year that I did a review of a band called Road Mutant who put out, I think it was a 6-track EP. They contacted me a couple of weeks back and they're basically going to be putting out another 2-song tape. Remember tapes back in the day? That whole retro vibe. So they're also going to be releasing that same weekend as well, so I'm also going to do a review for those guys. But that's then and this is now, and I'm going to use what little time I have of this glorious sunlight to enjoy the rest of my walk, put on a few tunes, and yeah, I quite enjoyed this one. Great album. It's always a pleasure when you get to listen to stuff like this. But for the time being, I'll see you then.